Hey, it's your girl, your favorite paralegal, aka Cassandra Lynn, and welcome to Legal Doc Talk 24/7. Hey, thank y'all for tapping in. This is a Megan Thee Stallion Rock Nation update in regards to Megan's ex cameraman who sued her for retaliation, discrimination, hostile work environment, non payment of wages, the whole 9 yards. And so we do have an update on the case. As I stated before, I kind of let you guys know what the process is when it comes to litigation. You know, the petition is filed, and then the defendant is served, and then the defendant ends up filing an answer. And then after the filing of the answer, you move into the discovery phase where you exchange discovery requests, you respond to discovery, you do depositions, all of that leading up to mediation. And I think that is where we are at now in this particular case. Now, it started out in state court in the California Superior Court, and then it was actually transferred to a federal court because we all have to understand that even though Megan lives in Florida, um Rock Nation, Hot Girls, Touring Company, all of those entities are in different, they have different places of business, if that makes sense. So jurisdiction has to make sense. So a state court would not be able to hear a case regarding a defendant that is outside of the state that the lawsuit was filed in. So you have to move it to federal court. So going into the most recent filings, um, on February 6th, a letter was actually submitted to the court, and it was in agreement to both parties. So it reads that plaintiff Emilio Garcia and defendants Megan Pete, Hot Girl Touring, Megan Thee Stallion Entertainment, Rock Nation write jointly a request a pre-motion conference regarding plaintiff's anticipated motion to compel the deposition of Miss Pete. So obviously they were trying to do a deposition, and for some reason Megan didn't do it. So let's see why. On January 21st, 2025, plaintiff served a notice of deposition to take Ms. Pete's deposition on February 26, 2025. Defendants informed plaintiff that Ms. Pete is unavailable on that day and her earliest availability for deposition is the week of June 22nd, 2025. The fact discovery deadline is July 7th. So that means that they have to have discovery completed, written discovery, depositions, expert depositions, all that has to be completed by July 7th. So I understand where they're coming from, because if you're saying that you are available the week of June 22nd, that doesn't give them time to do the depositions, get the deposition transcripts, and go through the deposition transcripts to see if any other depositions are needed or if any other information needs to be requested, so on and so forth. So that does make sense. It goes on to read that counsel for all parties have met and conferred as described below on these issues prior to requesting a pre-motion conference, but have been made, have been unavailable, unable to resolve the dispute. All right, so here are the parties' respective positions regarding Miss Pete's deposition. So this is the plaintiff Emilio Garcia's position on this. So, Ms. Pete's refusal to cooperate and timely appear for her deposition is unreasonable, dilatory, and a clear attempt to evade the legal process. Plaintiff properly served a notice of deposition. Defendant's counsel immediately responded and claimed the deposition was premature and that defendant will not offer Ms. Pete for deposition until the parties substantially complete document productions, as Miss Pete will only sit for a deposition on one day. You know what? And that makes sense as well. And that's how we like to do everything. I don't know how other firms do it, but the attorneys that I've contract with, we like to do all of the written discovery before we go to deposition, because we have questions. We get our questions from the discovery that's produced. So this makes sense. But anywho's, nevertheless, plaintiff attempted to work with defendant's counsel to find alternative dates. However, Ms. Pete has not offered any reasonable excuse or legal authority as to why she cannot or should not appear for her deposition until the week of June 22nd, 2025, just prior to the discovery deadline for July 7th, 2025. In a further effort to meet and confer, plaintiff requested defendants provide legal authority supporting such a delay on producing Ms. Pete's for her deposition. However, no such authority was provided. There is absolutely nothing unduly burdensome about Ms. Pete, a defendant in her individual capacity and main antagonist with respect to the claims being deposed. Nor does the timing of her deposition have any impact on proportionality of discovery. By contrast, defendants attempt to evade the deposition for 6 months until the eve of the discovery deadline is nothing but a calculated effort to delay discovery and prejudice plaintiff. Tellingly, less than 2 hours after plaintiff served the notice of deposition, defense counsel initially claimed Ms. Pete was not available and would not appear until after document productions. I understand that process. But anywho's, then she was not available until late June. This alone calls into question the adequacy and extent of Ms. Pete's alleged diligent attempts to schedule deposition. Further, the fact that the defendant offered to stage discovery and have not yet served document requests, oh Lord, has no bearing on whether plaintiff may proceed with this deposition. So they haven't even, and this is, y'all have to realize that Megan the Stallion's attorneys are from Quinn Emanuel, the same firm that represented Jay Z. Yeah. So they haven't even sent over discovery to Emilio to answer or respond to. There is nothing in the court's scheduling order limiting how soon or in what order a party may take a deposition. In fact, defendants could have served discovery requests months ago pursuant to the November 19th, 2025 scheduling order, but failed to do so. The defendant's argument regarding hypoethical and the speculative motion practice related to potential second deposition of Ms. Pete down the road is not only premature at this point, but suggests defendants plan to withhold documents and discovery. In reality, if Ms. Pete's deposition occurs on the eve of the discovery deadline and document discovery issues arise, plaintiff would not have adequate time to address any such issues. Accordingly, Ms. Pete should be compelled to appear for her deposition within 30 days. So they're requesting a motion to compel. So they're saying, hey, the court, do y'all thing. Do y'all thing. Please order her to be deposed within 30 days. All right. So then here is defendants. So this is Megan the Stallion's Quinn Emanuel responding on behalf of her. Ms. Pete should not be required to appear for deposition earlier than when she is available. Contrary to plaintiff's contention, Ms. Pete is not refusing to cooperate, nor does she seek to evade the legal process. She is willing to be deposed. Indeed, Ms. Pete provided a week of availability for deposition, well within the fact discovery period. Plaintiff refuses to explain why he cannot or will not depose Ms. Pete on any of the dates offered. Plaintiff's request for the deposition within 30 days should be denied because it is unduly burdensome and disproportionate. To compel discovery, plaintiff bears the burden of demonstrating relevancy and proportionality of his demand. Courts properly limit and deny discovery demands as disproportionate where they are one, unreasonable, cumulative, and duplicative, or can be obtained from some other more convenient, less burdensome, or less expensive source. Two, more burdensome than beneficial considering the needs of the case, amount of controversy, parties' resources, and importance of the issues at stake in a litigation, and the proposed discovery in resolving issues. As it concerns depositions of high level executive, the court must also consider the likelihood of harassment and business disruption. First, Ms. Pete acted in good faith to find a workable deposition date. The discovery period commenced on December 19th. More than 2 months later, on January 21st, plaintiff unilaterally noticed Ms. Pete's deposition for February 26th, just over 30 days from the service. Plaintiff promptly advised she was not available on that date and sought to meet and confer to 1. Find a mutual agreeable date, and 2. Stage discovery so that parties could work efficiently to comply with the July 7th fact discovery deadline. Plaintiff agreed to confer, but only on alternative February dates, and declined any discovery staging discussion. During a June 4th meet and confer, defendants then offered the week of June 22nd for Ms. Pete's deposition, well within the fact discovery period, and defendants provided a reasonable explanation for the delay. Ms. Pete's calendar prior to that week was filled with numerous work commitments, including music video and photo shoots, artist collaborations, award show appearances, including the Oscars in March and the Met Gala in May, launches and appearances for branded merchandise in February and May, rehearsals, album record sessions and promotions, and preparations for the performance at the Super Bowl Bash by FanDuel in February, a Coachella Music Festival in April with the rehearsals in March, and headlining the Music Festival in June, among others. As Ms. Pete's availability for a workday deposition and deposition prep before June 22nd is constrained by her erroneous work schedule, which demands travel worldwide and requires several weeks of months of coordinating and additional commitments. And defendants acted diligently to acquire mutually agreeable dates. Requiring Ms. P to appear for deposition sooner would be unduly burdensome. Now, if honestly, the deposition is about an hour, probably at the most 2 hours, just depending on the information and questions that you got from the written discovery. So honestly, she could take an hour or two out of her busy schedule, and you don't even have to go to the office. Zoom. When we was in COVID, that's what we did because we couldn't go anywhere. So that is why a lot of firms now utilize Zoom or other web camera conferencing in order to do this. So I agree with the plaintiff on this. An hour or two out of your time. That's it. That's all. And if for depot prep, once again, she could take an hour out of her day and sit down with her attorneys with Quinn Emanuel and prep for deposition. So that's really no excuse, to be honest. Let's see what else they said. Second, defendant offered alternate, less burdensome paths to accommodate plaintiff's insistence that Ms. Pete deposition occur within the next 30 days, as opposed to any other time before the close of the fact discovery, which plaintiff rejected outright. As Ms. Pete is one of several defendants in this action, it is the highest ranking executive among the Pete defendants. Defendants asked plaintiff to consider deposing other representatives of the Pete defendants before Ms. Pete, and or serving a notice of deposition by written question pursuant to the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 31 before oral deposition. These options are often proposed by courts to balance conflicting interests in the place and interests in and place reasonable limitations on discovery in the district or and elsewhere. Um, Finally, conducting Ms. Pete's deposition in June also promotes judicial economy. Discovery is in boy, I can't read today. Discovery is in its infancy. To date, none of the parties have served any request for production or interrogatories, let alone produce a single document. Huh? For real? So they haven't even done written discovery yet? Scheduling Ms. Pete's deposition after the parties substantially completed document production would ensure that all relevant documents are produced and any document discovery issues can be resolved, whether among the parties or the court before her deposition. It would also avoid future motion practice over whether she should be subject to redeposition that would inevitably result from plaintiff's preferred plan to depose her before any documents are produced. Let's see. And contrary to plaintiff's claim, Ms. Pete is not just an individual defendant, she is the principal of the Pete defendants, further underscoring the need to substantially complete document productions before she is deposed. Ms. Pete has acted in good faith to schedule her deposition within the fact discovery window and offered multiple resolutions for the parties' dispute, itself the product of plaintiff's unilateral deposition notice, and surprised that her tight schedule could not easily accommodate a full day deposition. If that's what they're asking for, then no. On barely a month's notice and no earlier coordination with counsel, plaintiff has failed to demonstrate that seeking Ms. Pete's deposition within 30 days is proportionate to the needs of the case, and judicial economies militate in favor of deposing Ms. Pete during the time she is available. She should not be compelled to appear for her deposition before the week of June 22nd. Let's see, background and summary of meet and conferred efforts. So let's see what they tried to do. On January 21st, plaintiff noticed the video deposition of Ms. P to be held in person on February 26th. Defendants promptly advised that Ms. Pete was unavailable to appear for deposition on the notice date and offered to confer with plaintiff concerning mutually agreeable deposition dates and staging of discovery. Counsel for plaintiff disagreed with such delay, but agreed to meet and confer to find an alternative date for the deposition, and the parties scheduled a virtual conference for further discussion on the issues. On January 24th, counsel for all parties met and conferred via Zoom at approximately 11:30 a.m., which lasted approximately 20 minutes. During this conference, defendants advised that Ms. Pete was available, for deposition during the week on June 26th, supposed to be explaining that her availability prior to that time was constrained due to numerous scheduled events and a demanding roster of work commitments. Plaintiff's counsel memorialized this in an email later that day and requested confirmation regarding defendant's position with respect to Ms. Pete's availability. On January 30th, defendants reiterated that they had pressed Ms. Pete for early availability, but that the week of June 22nd was the only availability provided, and that Ms. Pete's calendar prior to the date was filled with music videos and photo shoots, rehearsals, preparations, performances at the Coachella Music Festival, among other work commitments. In conclusion, despite their good efforts, the parties are unable to resolve this dispute without the court's intervention. Accordingly, pursuant to Rule 2E, Paragraph 2 of Your Honor's Individual Rules of Practice in Civil Cases, we respectfully request a pre-motion conference concerning the timing of Ms. Pete's deposition. And so they ended up having a conference on the 10th. Hold up, and I will pull that up right quick. So this was the judge's order. It says, by letter dated February 6th, the parties informed the court of a discovery dispute relating to deposition of defendant Megan Pete, named on the docket as Megan the Stallion. The court will hold a conference on February 10th at 1 p.m. to discuss the matter. The conference will be conducted by telephone. The parties are directed to the court's individual rules. Okay, so that's saying da da da. So here's the crazy part. So on the 10th, they did have the conference, and let me see, because I have two. I want to make sure that okay, so the minutes, it says that the telephone conference was held on the 10th. Now what the minutes are, I don't have a clue at this time because there's nothing on the docket that says anything. The court minutes are not there, but what I do see on the docket is that Roc Nation, and you know what? Let me just kind of share this with you guys. So as y'all can see on the 210, there was a telephone conference. And then, I said 210. And then on 212, Roc Nation and Megan Thee Stallion and all of her entities filed a motion to dismiss. So I am waiting to get I'm waiting for this information to become available so we can see exactly what is included in that motion to dismiss. So, as of right now, I don't know if Megan was ordered or compelled to do depositions. I just have to see when those documents become available. But I do know that 2 days later, after that telephone conference, both Roc Nation, Megan Thee Stallion, and all of her entities has moved to dismiss this entire case. So y'all stay tuned. Keep them notifications on so you will be, the first ones to get this update. All right? So once again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Definitely leave your comments below and I will be surely to respond to y'all. But other than that, you guys be blessed and have a good night. Bye.